Hi everyone, it's Erin from the Provincial Farmhouse. I'm here today with my lovely mum, Deb. We are going to be doing some Christmas in July baking using Redesign's new Paper Crafts Charms mold and my Thermocook Pro M. Let's get started. Today we're going to be using the gingerbread biscuit recipe that's built into the Thermocook Pro M 2.0. We have that saved to the favorites so it's easy to navigate to, and as you can see it shows us all the ingredients that we need, and it does go into detail about the preparation required for each step. Once I have all of my ingredients and equipment together, I can press make. As you can see, it very clearly sets out what steps you need to carry out, and then when I'm ready, all I have to do is hit play. Here I'm just going to zero out the inbuilt scale, and then I'm going to start measuring out my ingredients. First, I'm going to measure out 380 grams of plain flour, then 1.5 tablespoons of ground ginger, 1 teaspoon of mixed spice, 1 teaspoon of baking powder, and then I'm going to use the inbuilt scale to measure out 100 grams of brown sugar. We're then going to pour in 150 grams of golden syrup. Again, that inbuilt scale really makes this so much easier. Following this, we're going to be cutting up some butter. We're going to cut it into cubes to make measuring out the amount easier. We want to have 150 grams of butter total. The next part calls for 1 egg yolk. I'm so glad my mum was here to help me with this recipe today. I'm not great at separating the egg whites from the egg yolks. As you can see, we're just separating the egg whites, letting those fall into a cup, and then we'll add just the egg yolk into the Thermocook. Next, a pinch of salt, and then replacing the lid on top so we can move on to the next step. Once the lid is secure, all we have to do is hit start, and the Thermocook Pro will do all of the mixing for us. Once it was finished, we took the lid off and then used the spatula that comes with the Thermocook Pro to scrape down the sides. Now we ended up repeating this particular step 3 times, and then the mixture came together perfectly to form the dough substance that we were after. Once we'd put it through a 3rd time, we took off the lid, and you could definitely see that now it was looking more like the dough consistency that we were after. So we're going to take it off the Thermocook stand there, and as you can see, it's ready to go. So next it tells us that we need to create a lightly floured surface so that we can transfer the dough mixture onto the plate and start kneading it together. Now definitely be careful with this step. The blades are very sharp on the Thermocook, so you just need to be gentle as you're pulling that dough out. Once we have the dough out on our lightly floured surface, my mum got to work kneading it and pulling that mixture together, and you can definitely see that it was ready to go. It's combining beautifully. Once that's all kneaded and worked together, we did take out some cling wrap and wrapped up that dough, because this is going to need to go into the refrigerator and sit in there for about an hour. When the hour was up, we took out the Redesign Paper Craft Charms mold. This is a new mold, and we're going to dust that with just some plain flour so that the dough doesn't stick, and we're just sort of bending the mold over to sort of spread that around. You can use a brush if you like. This was just the easiest way, and then flipping it over and tapping out the excess. Next, you're going to want to break off little bits of the dough, approximately the size of the snowflake, and then start working it into the molds. Now, you guys know I love working with clay, but my mum is definitely the pro when it comes to cooking, so I let her take over for today. So just really pushing it into the details. If it doesn't come out cleanly, that's fine. We just took a butter knife and trimmed off any of of the excess dough. But these molds are so detailed, and this recipe from the Thermocook Pro was perfect for this. It definitely maintained the details in these molds. Once we'd filled the details with the dough, we got to flexing the mold. Remember, these are flexible, flexing them to help the dough release, and then flipping it over so that we can gently pull them out. And honestly, guys, I was just blown away by the details in these molds. And as I said, how well this particular recipe held those details. Next, we'll transfer those to a lined baking tray. And again, if there are excess bits of that dough, you can definitely just use a knife to cut off the excess. It does not have to be perfect when you first take it out of your mold. Once we finished making one of each of the molds there, we laid it out on a baking tray and popped it into the oven that was preheated to 180 degrees Celsius and had them in there for 10 minutes. Next, we took out some icing sugar and we're going to put it in a little mini sifter. You could definitely decorate these with your more traditional icing and paint that icing onto the details, but I love the simplicity of adding the icing sugar. It reminds me of snow and goes perfectly with these snowflake biscuits. I think that these have turned out really sweet. I'm blown away by how much detail we were able to achieve. Let me know if you're going to give this particular recipe in these molds a try. I really hope that you guys enjoyed